You're listening to Daily Prayer Stories, Cinematic Journeys of Faith, where everyday struggles meet eternal hope. Daily Prayer Stories presents Season 6, the story of James, Part 1, the return, sometimes the hardest road back, is the one that leads you home. The bus from Memphis to Nashville was half empty. James sat near the back with a scuffed guitar case between his knees and a small duffel at his feet. The driver kept a country station low on the radio. A couple rose up, a man in a Titans hoodie slept with his mouth open. Out the window, late afternoon Tennessee blurred by. Gas stations. Winter fields, church steeples small against the gray sky. 74 days sober. He counted them without looking at the chip in his pocket. The chip felt heavier than the guitar. The bus hissed to a stop at the downtown station. James stood, slung the duffel over his shoulder, and waited for the aisle to clear. 3 years ago, he'd ridden this same route with a label rep texting him every hour and a calendar full of studio dates. Today, he stepped onto the wet sidewalk and breathed in cold air and diesel. And nobody knew his name. He walked a Second and Pine, where the church sat between a tire shop and a brick apartment building, the same church where he'd led worship before the drinking took that from him too. The white cross over the door was chipped at one corner. The small trailer behind the fellowship hall looked exactly like he remembered. Narrow, beige, one step up to a flimsy door. He had keys this time. Pastor Tom had mailed them to the rehab center with a note that said, "There's coffee. There's quiet. There's no judgment." The trailer smelled like pine sol and old carpet. A twin bed, a tiny table, a 2-burner stove, a Bible on the counter with a yellow sticky note. "Welcome home, PT." The refrigerator hummed. He set the guitar case down gently, as if the noise might wake something he couldn't face. He made coffee he didn't need just to have something to do with his hands. The first sip burned. He didn't mind. He flipped open the Bible, almost out of muscle memory, and landed in Luke chapter 15. His eyes went straight to the line he'd avoided for a long time. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. Luke 15-20, King James Version. "A great way off," he said under his breath. "That's me." He set the mug down and pulled his phone from the duffel. A message waited from an unknown number. "James, this is Todd from the Monday night group. Pastor said you're back. Meeting at 7. Coffee's bad. Grace is good." He grinned despite the knot in his chest. He scrolled lower. A text he hadn't opened yet from Mara, his ex-wife. "Saw your name on a prayer list. I'm glad you're safe. Please don't show up unannounced." Text first? He read it twice and put the phone screen down. He would text first? The old version of him had taken without asking. The new version could learn how to wait. Before the meeting, he walked the block past the old venue that used to book him on Fridays. New poster in the window. Some kid with a hat low and a smile he used to wear. James stopped long enough to feel the tug, the stage, the lights, the applause that can fill a room and empty a soul at the same time. He kept walking. The church basement smelled like coffee, dry erase markers, and sugar cookies someone had overbaked. Folding chairs formed a wide circle. On one wall, a hand-lettered sign, "One day at a time." Todd, 50-ish, plaid shirt, kind eyes, waved him over. "Seat saved," he said, like they'd been saving it since James left. Introductions went around. "I'm Todd, grateful believer in Jesus. Sober 9 years by the grace of God. I'm Lila, 32 days clean. Fighting, but I'm here. I'm James," he said when it was his turn. 74 days, grateful, scared, trying. Heads nodded. No one flinched. After readings and a short devotional, they opened the floor. A young guy with sleeve tattoos talked about driving past his old bar and pulling into a grocery store parking lot to cry instead. Lila said she'd prayed for the first time in months and it didn't feel fake. James didn't plan to speak, but the words found him. "I used to think the fix was getting the crowd back," he said. "If I could just get on a stage again, I'd feel right. But the stage made me louder and emptier. He paused. Today, I tuned my guitar and didn't play it. I made coffee I didn't need. I read about a father who ran when his kid was still a mess. I don't have much else, but I'm here. They prayed the serenity prayer together. He could barely say the words without his voice shaking. Outside, the street was wet and quiet. Todd clapped his shoulder. You coming back next week? I plan to, James said. Good, Todd replied. Plans are fine. Showing up is better. Back in the trailer, James set the chip on the table and opened his notebook. The rehab counselor had called it a relapse plan. He called it a map out of stupid. Triggers: late nights, empty rooms, old songs, bad news. Call list: Todd, group, Pastor Tom, Uncle Ray, sober 18 years. Rules: no bars, just to check in. No, just one. Text before you spiral. Scripture before sleep. He wrote a verse at the bottom in block letters. Create me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Psalm 51:10, King James Version. He took a picture of the page and set it as his lock screen. The next morning he texted, Mara, I'm back in town. Trailer behind Hope Church. Not asking for anything. Just letting you know. He put the phone down and went for a walk before he could stare at the screen and build a narrative out of silence. He bought eggs and oatmeal from the corner market and a cheap watch because the counselor said routines keep you off ruts start at 10:12 a.m. Her reply came, Thank you for texting. I'm glad you're safe. James, I'm protecting our son first. We can talk, but it will be on my terms. Pastor Tom can be present. He typed 3 different responses before settling on, Understood. Thank you. Tell Caleb I'm praying for him. He stared at the scent bubble. The old hymn would have driven to her house with a speech. The new hymn washed the 2 dishes in the sink and took the trash out. Sunday he went to church. He sat in the back row, capped low, eyes on the floor more than the stage. The worship leader was younger, voice good, heart better. During the second song, Pastor Tom slid into the aisle seat beside him without looking over. Keys work? The pastor asked. They did, James said. Good, Tom replied. The coffee's still bad? They both smiled small. When the service ended, Tom touched his shoulder. Wednesday at noon, the pastor said. Chili at the diner. If you want. I'll be there, James answered, surprised to hear certainty in his own voice. When most people had cleared the room, James walked to the front and stood off to the side of the stage. He put a hand on the rail. The wood felt familiar. He didn't climb up. He didn't need to. He whispered, I'm sorry, and meant it. Back in the trailer, he opened the Bible again. Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10, met him where he lived. Fear thou not. For I am with thee, be not dismayed. For I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. He read it out loud, slow, then wrote it on an index card, and taped it to the fridge. That night, he called Uncle Ray. I'm back, James said. I heard, his uncle answered. Proud of you. Remember what I told you? Don't make forever promises, James said. Right, Ray replied. Make 24-hour ones. And when that's too big, make 24-minute ones. Also, eat dinner. Sober men forget to eat. They both laughed. James scrambled eggs at 8:37 p.m. because the counsel was specific and kindness felt like a handrail. Before bed, he opened the guitar case. The instrument smelled like cedar and the last green room he'd been sober in. He tuned each string carefully, then set it back down without playing a note. Not yet, he said. Not until I can hold it without needing it to hold me. He lay on the narrow bed and prayed the simplest prayer he had. Help, then he added, Thank you. Because his counselor had told him gratitude changes the brain, and his grandmother told him gratitude changes the heart. Sleep came slow but clean. Morning routine. Make the bed. Read a psalm. Walk 2 laps around the block. Text Todd a thumbs up emoji. Then make coffee. He stuck the chip in his pocket every time he left the trailer. He learned the names of the men who drank their coffee at the tire. Shop by 6:30. he learned that silence could be honest. Not punishment. By Thursday, he texted Pastor Tom, "Is it okay if I help stack chairs after midweek service?" Tom replied, "Yes, but it's okay if you just sit too." James stacked chairs. On Friday, he stood outside the high school fence while students poured out after practice. He spotted Caleb by the gym doors, taller, hair longer, a face that looked like Miraz with his grandfather's jaw. James took one step closer and then stopped. He had promised. He watched from a distance until Caleb climbed into a friend's truck. James raised a hand nobody saw and whispered, "I'm here, son. I'm learning how to be here." Back in the trailer, he finally lifted the guitar into his lap. He played a G chord, then C, then D, slow, steady, no runs, no show. He sang one verse from memory, barely above a whisper. "My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12-9. King James Version. He set the guitar down and wrote the verse on the same index card. Isaiah 41-10. He underlined the word weakness. If grace showed up anywhere, it would be there. He rinsed his coffee mug, set. Part 2. The terms. Forgiveness isn't free. It costs humility and time. The diner smelled like bacon grease and coffee that had been sitting since sunrise. Pastor Tom was already in a booth near the back, stirring sugar into his cup even though it didn't need it. James walked in, hat low, hands in his jacket pockets. He felt every eye that didn't actually look at him. Tom waved him over. "You look better," the pastor said. "Cleaner," James answered. "Better's still a work in progress." The waitress poured him coffee without asking, like she'd done 100 times before, back when he'd walk in with his band after Sunday service, still wearing stage sweat and smiles. "You still take it black?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "Still bitter too." Tom smiled at the joke. Small steps, he thought. They talked about work or the lack of it. James said he'd been applying to a few repair shops, doing small things at the church. "Nothing fancy," he said. "Just trying to do something that doesn't feel like performing." Tom nodded. "That's good. Doing quiet work teaches you to breathe again." James hesitated before asking what had been sitting in his throat for weeks. "Have you seen Mara?" Tom leaned back. "She's coming to service Sunday. Said she might stay after for a few minutes if you're up for it." James swallowed hard. "Under your supervision, I assume?" "She requested that, yes," Tom said gently. "It's not punishment, James. It's protection. For her, for Caleb, for you." He nodded. "I understand. I earned that." For a while, they just sat, two men, one forgiven too many times to count, the other still learning what forgiveness costs. "Can I tell you something honest?" James asked. "Always," Tom said. "I'm not sure what to pray for anymore. I ask for help or strength, but I don't even know if that's faith or just fear." Tom sipped his coffee. "Then start there. Honesty is prayer, James. The Psalms aren't polished. They're honest. David was a mess half the time." James cracked a half smile. "Guess I'm in good company then." Tom reached into his jacket and slid a folded note across the table. "Read this when you're ready." James unfolded it later, sitting in his truck. One verse written in neat handwriting. "Be still, and know that I am God." Psalm 46-10. King James Version. He read it twice, then again. "Be still." Stillness didn't come easy to a man who used to fill every silence with noise, with music, with bottles, with jokes that covered pain. Now silence was part of the healing. That night, back at the trailer, he walked a slow circle outside before bed. The stars were dim, washed out by city lights, but they were there. He looked up and whispered, "Still trying to learn, Lord. Please don't give up on me yet." Inside, he wrote another note on the fridge beside the first one. "Stillness is not failure. It's faith that waits." He turned off the light. The room dark except for the glow of his phone. Sunday, meeting with Mara, after service. He exhaled. "Okay," he said, "one honest step at a time." Part 3. The First Amends. Sometimes forgiveness isn't a word you say, it's a silence you survive. Sunday came cold and quiet. The sky over Nashville was the color of steel. James sat in the back row of the church, cap in hand, eyes fixed on the carpet. His heart thudded against his ribs as if trying to leave before the service ended. He hadn't seen Mara in over a year, not since the night he'd driven away. Too drunk to remember what he said or what she cried. He'd memorized that moment anyway, when the final hymn faded. Pastor Tom met his eyes from the front and gave a small nod, a signal. James stayed seated until the sanctuary emptied, then stood, every step heavy as penance. Mara waited near the door by the fellowship hall, coat button, purse clutched tight. Her hair was shorter. She looked older, not by years, but by what she'd carried. "Hey," James said softly. "Hey," she replied, eyes guarded. They stood in the uneasy space between the past and what might someday be peace. "I don't want to make this long," she said. "I just needed to see for myself that you're actually doing what you said." "I am," he said. 79 days sober. I've been in the group, working, praying, trying not to talk more than I listen. She nodded once. "Caleb's okay. He knows you're in town. He's not ready to see you yet. But he prays for you every night?" That hit deeper than any sermon. "He prays for me?" "Yes," she said. Sometimes he asks if God still listens when we don't trust people. James swallowed hard. Tell him he does, please." For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Just the hum of the hallway heater and the rustle of her coat. "I don't expect anything, Mara," James said. "I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. And I'm not the same man who left." She met his eyes and, for the first time, didn't look away. "Then prove it. Not to me, to yourself." To him, he nodded, tears burning his throat. "I will." Pastor Tom stepped quietly beside them. "That's enough for today," he said gently. Small steps. Mara turned to leave, but before walking away, she said, "We'll see how the next few months go. If you stay steady, maybe we'll talk again." When she left, James stood there for a long time. His hand shook, not from withdrawal, but from relief. It wasn't reconciliation, not yet. But it was a beginning. He stepped outside. The wind cut sharp, but he didn't mind. For the first time in years, the air felt clean that night. He wrote a single line in his notebook: "Forgiveness starts with staying." Then he opened his Bible to Philippians chapter 1, verse 6, and read it aloud, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1-6. King James Version. He closed the book and whispered, "Please, keep working on me." Part 4. The Fall and the Call. Sometimes the old life doesn't knock. It breaks the door down. Monday morning came slow. The alarm buzzed at 6:30, but James didn't move. He stared at the ceiling of the small trailer, tracing the hairline crack above the window, a flaw he'd been meaning to fix but hadn't. His body felt heavy, his mind already racing. Day 80-1. He went through the motions. Shower, coffee, read a psalm, write one gratitude in his notebook. Today's line: "I woke up sober." Simple, true. Enough. By mid-morning, he was at the garage on Elm Street, filling out paperwork for a part-time job fixing brakes and oil leaks. The manager, a wiry man named Russ, looked up from the counter. "You're that musician, right? You used to play down at Harper's." James hesitated. "Used to, yeah." Russ grinned. "Heard you were good. Maybe you can sing to the carburetors while you work." James smiled politely. "Only if they're in tune." He got the job. 3 days a week, cash pay until they got the paperwork sorted. Honest work, grease on his hands, sore back. It felt good. At lunch, he sat behind the garage with a sandwich and an old thermos of coffee. His phone buzzed. Unknown number again. "James, it's Rick, Harper's Bar. We're doing a reunion next Friday. You should come. Play a set. One song for old time's sake. Drinks on the house." He froze. The words "drinks on the house" hit harder than they should have. He deleted the message immediately, then pulled it from the trash just to read it again. That small war, quiet but brutal, played out inside his chest by the time he clocked out. The sun had dipped low. He drove home with both hands tight on the steering wheel. The trailer light flicked on automatically as he stepped in. Coffee smell still hung in the air from the morning. He sat at the table, phone in front of him, and whispered, "Not today." But temptation isn't polite. It doesn't leave just because you ask. He texted Todd, "Rough day. Could use a check-in." Todd replied within a minute, "Come by. Group's cleaning the church tonight. Plenty of coffee, no judgment." That was grace. Fast, simple, unearned. He showed up an hour later. The church basement buzzed with small sounds, vacuum cords, broom bristles, laughter from people who had all seen their own rock bottoms. Lila waved. Todd handed him a rag and a spray bottle. "Windows," Todd said. "God works best when your hands are busy." They cleaned in silence for a while. Then Todd spoke quietly. "You got offered something, didn't you?" James looked up, startled. "How'd you know?" Todd shrugged. "We've all had that text. The one that sounds like a reward but smells like a..." James exhaled, tension leaking from his shoulders. "Yeah, that one." "Delete it again," Todd said. Then blocked the number. "Grace doesn't hide in the same places you used to run to." James nodded. He did exactly that, right there, in front of Todd. Deleted, blocked. Freedom in 3 taps. After they finished cleaning, they prayed together. Lila led, voice trembling but strong. "Lord, keep us steady when the old roads call us home. Teach us to love quiet more than chaos." That line stayed with James long after he left, back in the trailer. He made another note on the fridge. Grace isn't found, it's practiced. Then he opened his Bible to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, and read aloud. "There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you're able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it." 1 Corinthians 10:13. King James Version. He whispered, "Thank you for the way out." As he turned off the light, the hum of the refrigerator filled the small space, the same sound that once made him feel trapped, now a sign that things still worked. He lay in bed, not proud, but grateful, which was better. The old life would call again. He knew that. But tonight he'd answered someone else's voice instead.